For some, spring break may have already happened. For some, spring break is this week. For us, spring break isn't until after these games are done. So let's recap the old and prepare the new. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another round of the Wings of the Angels podcast. This time, we're actually going to try to do it sort of in a podcast form. I'm going to upload this as one continuous thing eventually, but what I'm going to do is relay a bunch all at once. So this did kind of mess with the schedule. What you're going to see here is the recap of Wednesday's games, which we never got to, unfortunately. Recap of the weekend games. So two separate videos going up that way. Then we're going to recap Angel City's game specifically. Then we're going to preview Angel City's game, and then we're going to preview the next one. The power rankings, I was unable to make time for, unfortunately, because of a bunch of things going on recently. But I also figured it would make sense to actually release it during this upcoming break, since, we've got this whole 3 weeks off thing coming. It'll be a nice way to introduce ourselves to the teams officially and place the ranking. So I'm just pushing it one extra week, and we will do that after these round of games are complete. All right. With all that out of the way, let's get started with let's start with the Angel City game, actually. So what we are going to talk about first is Angel City's game last Friday, where they were playing the Houston Dash. This was a battle of undefeated teams. As of last week, there were 5 undefeateds and 3 undefeateds/untieds. And so this was a battle of 2 teams who hadn't been lost or drawn yet. And so what we saw was a very competitive game. I was extremely impressed by what I was looking at there. And so what we ended up seeing is Angel City pulling off a 2-1 victory over the Houston Dash in front of their home crowd at BMO Stadium. And it was not an easy one. Houston did take the fight to them early and led to a Maggie Graham goal 11 minutes in, putting the pressure on immediately for Angel City to try to counter. And it took them an entire half to pull it. The only thing that went on in the half other than that were some bookings. We had Evelyn Shores taking a yellow card 15 minutes in, and Danielle Colaprico of Houston also getting one 26 minutes in. Other than that, it was a lot of back and forth. In terms of possession, in terms of shots, in terms of shots on target, there was actually very little oxygen between the two teams by the end. Angel City had only 52-48 advantage in possession. Shots on target were even at 3 each. Houston was leading in overall shots 15-9. So it felt like two teams that were trying to really establish and make a name for themselves. And you could sense a little bit of pressure mounting when halftime hit for Angel City to get some offense going. And thankfully for them, it was pretty much immediate. As soon as they stepped out for halftime, the second half goes their way within the first 5 minutes. You have Svandas Jansdottir getting the first goal to equalize the game 48 minutes in, and then Riley Tiernan almost on the first counterattack gets control of the ball and fires one in the 50th minute. So within under 100 seconds, you had 2 goals, and now Angel City is playing ahead, and the entire second half strategy has gone out the window for Houston. The rest of the way, it is more balanced from them, both teams trying to get separation from each other, or in Houston's case, trying to get rid of the separation. But really all that was left is a card for each one. So we got Jansdottir getting one in the 70th minute, and Kiki Van Zanten for Houston getting a yellow in the 89th as the team was getting a little more desperate. And so as we get to the end of this, you have the Angel City faithful being rewarded quite well with a 3rd victory. And because of this loss, because of some other losses we're going to go over, Angel City is now the only team in the entire league who hasn't taken a loss yet. And now, admittedly, they've played one fewer game than most everyone, only More than half of the league has already played 4. They're one of the few that have played 3. But nonetheless, Angel City right now sitting at the top of the table as they get ready for what is one final matchup before we go on the break. We'll talk about that here in the preview in a little bit. But as it stands for this one, definitely was defensive for most of it. Very impressive effort from both teams. Houston showed they are a lot more legitimate than I had given them credit for. I thought they had kind of shown a lot of vulnerability and that their contention wasn't legitimate. But I do think this team has the ability to make a playoff push, assuming they can maintain this throughout the full season. It could just be things are clicking early on, but things are pretty okay for them right now. As for Angel City, this third win was massive, and it tells me Angel City has improved significantly from last year. Now, the question will be, is this team actually going to be able to maintain? And I think this upcoming matchup will do a lot to tell us, as well as how they go against teams right after this 2-week break that comes on after this weekend. But, at least as it stands right now, both teams should come away feeling pretty solid considering where they were starting the year, how they've started the first 2 games, and how they played with each other in this third one. So, needless to say, I was pleasantly surprised. I had to go watch it on archive later because I'm not subscribed to Prime at the moment. But the opportunity to see both teams will be a prospect here in the future, and I'm sure we'll be seeing both of them on live Ion broadcasts in the near future as well. In any case, we are through with this one, so if you are watching this as 5 separate videos, the preview for Angel City will be coming up here in a little bit, as well as everything else. It's all coming up over the course of a day, so look forward to that, and I will talk to you all soon. Welcome back, everybody. Calling all the Angels here for another round with Angel City and the Wings of the Angels. So let's talk about what we've gotten going here for this week. Angel City, another Friday game, this time a cross-country trip, which could prove very detrimental to them. It is a trip all the way out to Orlando to play the Pride, and so this matchup is going to be a little different for Angel City in a number of ways. Whereas with the first couple games, you had 2 home games, as well as a game that's wasn't all the way across. Now you're going all the way down to Florida. This is basically the Disney battle. You got Disney World, Disneyland. But more importantly, you got a team in Orlando who is rapidly starting to need a lot of success. The standings are getting affected. They are 2 draws into this. And so they're sitting at 5 points, barely in the top 8. They need to actually do something to make a name for themselves this season. They have been... this last week's game with the Denver Summit, the 1-1 draw, was proving very much a hurt to their pride, I would have to assume. And especially since the game was at home, and I'm sorry, that one was a couple weeks ago, but they, in the last week, did manage to get a win over Chicago and then drew with Gotham. Also on an East Coast one there. So it's one of those situations where 2 draws, one to the current playoff winner, but one to an expansion. Those are not matchups where you're trying to... Those are not matchups you're looking to take points off of yourself in. You might be able to settle for it with Gotham being on the road against a team who won the Cup championship, but not the way Gotham's been playing, and certainly not in another 0-0 affair where it's showing... You're showing some severe limitations to what you are capable of from a scoring standpoint. At this point in the year, you have only managed 1 goal in 2 of your matches. You failed to score in another. The only time you scored 3 goals was against the Chicago Stars, who still look like near the basement of the league this year. They will be a wooden spoon contender all things considered. And on Angel City's side, you've got a team who's playing really on fire, picking up 3 wins, 2 of which were fairly convincing wins. And so what you're seeing in this matchup, what I think you'll be expecting to see is one team playing a lot more desperate, the other one getting ready for their break. And I would expect Angel City is going to actually struggle with this one a bit. Is my definite expectation that Orlando scores first. They need to prove they can draw for first blood in a matchup at this point. And meanwhile, Angel City, I think, after that win and going on this cross-country trip, won't be as electric, at least in the first going, even though they did get caught off guard by Houston early on. I think it becomes a little bit of a pattern this go-around. I would say if I'm looking at Angel City at this moment, I would say you're going to be down and you're going to have to make another comeback. Now, the positive is the front line and the mid line have been extremely successful in this early going. It seems like a lot of work went into making sure the communication and ability to pass back and forth was on point for Angel City, which with Orlando, it's kind of clear their offense is running through Barba Banda with a few supporting members who are definitely not slouches, but it's kind of the same thing if you were following the recent San Diego game, which we were doing a live video of. The offense there was also maneuvering through a very specific line of players. And I think Orlando's starting to fall into that trap a bit as well, which means as the year goes on, they're going to have to come up with adjustments because teams are going to pick up that pattern fairly quickly. In this matchup, I could absolutely see Angel City taking the loss. I don't think they're going to actually lose it outright. I think this game will go, I'm actually going to say 2-2. I think they're going to draw an early deficit, pick up another goal, and then at some point the two will exchange goals. It could be Angel City taking the lead and then dropping it, but my bigger guess is the goal order will go Orlando, Angel, Orlando, Angel. And so that's going to lead to a 2-2 draw. Angel City will drop their first points of the season. However, they will still at least come away with the draw, which will allow them to at least remain in the undefeated column as the sole team not beaten in the first month. Judging by what we're seeing this season, though, yeah, it's a much improved year for Angel City. I've been pleasantly surprised by how they've done on this early going. Obviously, the first 2 games were much bigger blowouts, but those were also teams that were not, in my view, real playoff contenders this go-around. And Houston, they also might not be, but I think based on the game results so far, they're at least going to keep things interesting. This one with Orlando, though, it is a former playoff team. It's a team with legitimate ability that appears to have downgraded slightly, but is still a force and a threat to be in the postseason. So this matchup does need to be taken seriously. I'm certainly hoping to see a full 12 points in these first 4 games, but it would not shock me, and my expectation is that they're going to settle for the 1 today. We will be going over this in the game recap, as now we will actually be able to maintain the real schedule now that I've got the 2-week break. We can actually settle into something here pretty well. But yeah, this should be a good matchup here as Angel City gets ready for a couple weeks before another home game with the Portland Thorns. And yeah, for now, hope everyone can give it a watch. Should be a fun game overall. And for those, I'm just going to double check. I'm going to look up the current schedule here in terms of TV. Make sure we've got ourselves the actual broadcast. It is the prime game again, which means, again, I will be looking at showcasing the stuff on demand later. So my talk on it will be a little bit delayed as I wait to see some full footage. But nonetheless, you know that I will be full on rooting, and I will probably give the iHeartRadio broadcast a listen as well. No, it'll be a little more difficult, but as you all see, we kind of do that with our live coverage as well. It's basically a broadcast where I'm just relaying information as the game is actually occurring, since I'm not putting Ion TV up during the live broadcasts. All right, with that said, good luck to the players at Angel City here, and let's go Angels. And welcome back. Let's get on to what we're talking about today. Let's carry on with our recap of last week's games. Those of you who have been following on the YouTube, we have been doing Angel City recap, Angel City preview. Now it's time to get back to the whole league at large, to games that are now 9 days old, and I want to get them off the queue as quickly as possible. These are the Wednesday games from March 25th, starting with one of the more monumental of the available upsets, and that was Gotham FC losing to the expansion Denver Summit. So, okay, a lot of stuff going wild in this game. Needless to say, I don't think anyone was expecting a team who came away with hardware last year to lose their opening, to lose a midweek match against Denver, an expansion team, on their home field. But this kind of reflects where New York or Gotham has been for the majority of this season so far. They have not looked up to snuff, and it is a little concerning. Their scoring just isn't there. I know this is the same team that struggled early on a year ago and was able to put it all together late, but yeah, it is not something you expect to see from a team who just recently won something to open the season so off their game. So looking just through it, once again, Denver still trying to get themselves sorted. They ended up with a yellow card early on with Natasha Flint, and then there's still a lot of back and forth going. Lily Real from Gotham gets one as well. But it's not until the second half where stuff starts to break down. Up to this point, it's just been another Gotham struggling to score kind of game. But sure enough, 58 minutes here, Melissa Kalsler coming away with a goal for Denver, and now Gotham is on the defensive. And this continues later on as they try to start getting more aggressive. They force Megan Reed into committing a hard foul, which gives her a yellow card as well for Denver. But, again, the team who takes advantage eventually ends up being Natasha Flint from Denver, picking up a second goal, an insurance goal, and now the separation has become too much. Gotham gets a late yellow card during injury time from Jalen Howell. And, yeah, that pretty much covers what ended up happening there to him. This game was pretty well balanced, almost 50-50 split. Gotham with slightly more possession time, as to be expected when you're trailing. Shots on goal. The on-target shots was Denver's favor 5-4, but overall shots were in New York's favor. It was a fairly balanced game, and it's not what you would have expected from a team like Gotham, who should be putting teams away at home in these early goings. But it seems like every team in the league is making it a personal point to beat this team in their opportunity to play them. And so it has been challenging for Gotham FC to make any real moves. We're looking now, Denver and Gotham are in identical spots on the table here with 4 points each. And yeah, this should come across as concerning if you are a Gotham fan, that maybe you're going to struggle to keep your top 8 position rather than move up like I had been firmly expecting. And going on to that second game, I would argue same is going to be the case for Washington, who I figured would have gotten Utah in this one, but instead allow a late goal and end up having to drop points yet again. 3 matches into or rather on their third match here, you're looking at a team that was coming away with only their second point here. So let's dissect this a bit. They do get a goal early. Rebecca Bernal, 18th minute, quick goal for Washington Spirit. But there's never a point where they get the separation. And so there's a lot of attempts there. Utah Royals take a yellow card in the 21st minute. And Trinity Rodman's getting a lot of opportunities at free kicks and to move inward. But nothing really materializes in the first half. They're still clinging to the lead. But you're still in that nervous position where this could go wrong if you get lax. You want that extra goal. And sure enough, the longer the game went, it did backfire on them. 84th minute of the game, you get Mina Tanaka from the Utah Royals coming away with this goal. Game is level. And now you got Washington just desperately trying to get a goal to happen, and it ends up just not coming to fruition. And once again, drop points by Washington in a game I firmly would have expected them to win. This would have been their statement moment, and it just, doesn't occur. In terms of their statistics, I mean, once again, it's a 50-50 game, like in terms of their actual possession. Literally, it was 50.1 to 49.9. But Washington ends up with 2 fewer shots, 2 additional shots on target. But otherwise, it was just, they let the game be a little too balanced for a team that shouldn't be competing with them at that point. Like, 'cause I'm looking at the Spirit as a team that should be looking at the Shield this year. Instead, they're coming up in a bad spot here. I am definitely becoming a little concerned for this unit. In any case, let's move on to third game here. Orlando Pride taking out the Chicago Stars. And this one is finally one that's actually fairly predictable. Chicago Stars, we know, have severe limitations. That we did a live of their game a few days later against San Diego. And it largely resembles the same type of limitations. It's not a team that's really at the point where they can really threaten, other than keeping the game really low scoring. And once you can get a goal or two, they're very much on the defensive. In this case, they gave up 3 big goals here. Barbara Banda gets the scoring going in the 13th minute. Unsurprising, she's been the offensive kickstarter for Orlando most of the season here. But a few minutes later, Lisbeth Ovale gets a goal of her own, and Hannah Anderson, before halftime, racks up another one. So within the span of about almost 22 minutes, you see 3 goals in rapid succession, and the game kind of goes into silence from there. At that point, Chicago's trying to score. Orlando's just trying to keep the separation. And so we do get a couple yellows, but honestly, Orlando trusted its defense. Chicago ended up with the majority of possession by the end, 52 to 48. But the 4 shots on target for Orlando, still out shooting them overall in spite of the aggression. There really wasn't much to say here other than Orlando seized control very quickly and then walked off with the victory. And in that sense, good for them. Like, they needed that win, and they're probably very happy they saw what they did. Once again, being in that stadium was not ideal for them. This game had under 2,000 people present, and again, that's because of being back at the Northwestern Stadium. I'm sure once they move in, probably with Chicago Fire in the new soccer stadium, that will adjust. But yeah, the attendance on that definitely concerning. Now, speaking of Seattle Reign, going back and forth between a few places, they played in Spokane this time. So smaller attendance, but another city gets to see their team, and they were kind of in the same boat playing Kansas City Current. I was not expecting Kansas City to get dropped in back-to-back games like this, but it is definitely raising some red flags that the Shield winner last year, another team that came away with hardware, still not producing the way they should. And in this one, it was basically the same formula. 3 goals very early on. In this case, it was James Turner in the 18th minute, Ratcliffe in the 26th, and Mercado in the 33rd. About 15 minutes and 3 goals, and that pretty much covered it. Not a lot of bookings. We had one fairly early and then one very much at the end, but not not any just not anything that you'd expect in terms of Kansas City's play based on how they've been in years past. It's really shocking there, where Seattle, on the other hand, did step up there after what was a miserable performance against Portland. They clearly wanted to make a statement, and they did, and it was at the expense of the defending champions in terms of the Shield. In terms of shots, they were almost even. It was 4-3 in favor of Seattle shots on target. Shot attempts overall were a lot more in Seattle's favor, as was the possession going 55-45. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of Kansas City to this point, but something needs to happen fairly quickly. And then to close up, we go to Snapdragon Stadium, where San Diego pulled off the 3-1 win over Portland. This one, the scores were very, very quick. Like the first goal, Dudinha pulls one out 2 minutes in, with Corley getting the assist there. A couple minutes later, the game is level thanks to Pietro Torden hitting a shot. So we are 10 minutes into the match, not even 10 minutes, and we're staring at a 1-1 match already. And it's an interesting thing to see them go back and forth there. But yeah, it was it was quickly broken again by Leah Godfrey, who gets a goal in the 27th. And the game just kind of hangs in the balance for a while. Not a lot going on other than Pearl Maroney taking a yellow card just after halftime. Portland gets one in the 61st minute with Olivia Moultrie. And then, yeah, just as we get closer to the end, last 10 minutes, finally see Melanie Marcenas come up and hit the goal there. Both teams end up at 6 points in the standings by that stage, as Portland drops their first match of the year, first loss of the season. San Diego trying to reestablish themselves as a big deal in the league. And definitely this game was a big step towards that in the performance section. But those were the midweek games last go around. Stay tuned here for the weekend in a separate video. I'm trying to keep the dates fairly separated between midweek and weekend. And so I'll establish that here. So look forward to that, and I'll see you all soon for that.